Welcome back to another episode of A Detailer's Perspective. My name is James and I'm the content creator for ValetPRO, and I'm joined with Elliott, the detailer for ValetPRO, and we're going to talk you through the process of the detail.
So as you can see here, I was going around and touching up the paint, just feeling for, see if there's any contaminants sort of left over.
It's quite an important part because you don't know the history of the car a lot of the times, and you know if there's anything to be cautious of, now's the time to find it.
Yeah. Liberal spray there of clay rider, dedicated clay lube, and the blue contamination bar there. So that's our heaviest contamination bar there. So that one's sort of for professional use. It's quite a harsh clay bar. So, you know, using the clay lube on there, you're going to get some marring, but it will dramatically reduce the risk of the marring and the marring that you get. And we all do have another 2 clay bars in the range. We've got a yellow one, which is a medium, and a mild one, which is an orange clay bar, which you can use with water. They're quite gentle, they are. So straight lines when you clay barring.
And that's just to prevent, you know, the risk of scratching and marring, is that right?
Yes. Well, so, you know, you are going to mar, unfortunately, just because of the nature of the clay bar. But yeah, if you get anything caught up in there by accident, then just by doing in straight line scratches are a lot easier to get out. So in that corner there was a tad of overspray on the glass. You just use the clay bar there just to get the overspray off.
And the overspray is because that had a recent respray, is that right? Or we think it had a recent respray?
There's been some bodywork, especially on the rear sides of the rear quarters and the sides of the car. Some of the bodywork wasn't too bad. Some of it, you know, could do with being done again, but you know, you can do what you can. So once those bits of clay bar, you know, kind of clogged up with contaminants, then yeah, just put them to the side and then, you know, throw them away at the end. Don't ever reuse a clay bar once it's clogged up with contaminants.
I notice here that you're sort of starting on the lower panels and you seem to kind of be working your way upwards. Is that a recommended way of clay barring, or does it matter so much?
No, it doesn't matter so much. I mean, on this car, it was quite clean. It was only those lower parts that were bad, so I just concentrated more on the lower parts. Obviously, if we were to show the whole clay barring process in the video, it would be an extremely long video. So we're just showing sort of like the important areas, and you can see on the clay bar, you know, the contaminants coming out. So the lower areas of the car is a lot more visual. So when you clay bar it and then you look at the clay bar afterwards, which I do a few times, you'll see the bits of tar and stuff stuck in it.
When we're talking about contaminants, you know, what are these contaminants? Are these from the road surfaces, or is it sort of...
So yeah, it'll be in the road. It will come off other cars. It will come off your own brakes when you brake in, because the iron fallout will come out of the disc brake, out of the pads, and off the discs. So down the sides is mostly going to be, especially from the front when you've got the big German cars, you know, automatics, where you're always heavy on the brakes. A lot of the contamination, the iron contamination down the sides will be off your own brakes.
We're not sponsored by Dr. Pepper. So that's the ultra soft buffing towel.
That's right, yeah. Pull the label off. I don't know if any other people, or if many other people do it, but that's something I do. Just force of habit.
Yeah, and that's mostly, you know, to also prevent scratching.
Yeah, just unnecessary, you know, maybe more, maybe towel marring, I'd say, more than anything from a label.
Yeah.
That's our maximum cut microfibre pad, 5.5 inch pad. A few healthy dollops of compound on there because it's the first go, so we're not necessarily priming the pad like you would a foam one, but just on our first go there, we will, you know, use a little bit more compound on there than we would do.
and you're spreading the polish over the surface that you've been working at, just so when you do come to, you know, polishing it in, you've got that even coverage.
That's right. And then spread the polish with a slow, or compound with a slow speed. So spreading it on a slow speed means the slower the machine polisher goes, the faster you can work it, and then do the opposite. So once you then speed up the polisher for your cutting, then obviously slow your movements down.
Is that just to prevent overheating and burning through the paint, or what's the reason for?
What's that for the?
When you slow down, when you put the polish on.
No, it's just it's so that you can work the panel. So you give the pad and the compound enough time to cut.
Oh, okay.
If you were to move it really fast, and you know, which you've probably seen plenty of people doing in these videos. I think they're more Mickey taking videos, to be fair. They're not actually getting any cut. There's no way that you can then cut a panel if you're just working it really fast. So you need that sort of slow-handed speed to be able to give the time, so that the pad and the compound has the time to actually cut through that damaged lacquer.
Makes sense.
If you do it fast and things like that, then I mean, less likely with a DA, but there's chances that, you know, you could put holograms and all sorts in the paint, and, you know, pigtails, etc.
Yeah.
So just by working on that slow speed, you get a nice, you get a better finish.
And this is what they call a rotary?
No, this is a DA.
Oh, but this is a DA.
Yeah,
okay.
dual action. So it's just the Rupes Bigfoot 15.
Right.
So it's got a 15mm throw. You've got the Rupes Bigfoot 21, which is a 21mm throw. Then you've got the I think it's called the melee, or the milli. That's like a force rotation.
Okay.
So that's a slight mixture of a rotary and but with a DA, it's free spinning. So if you hit a corner or you put too much pressure on, it will just oscillate.
Right.
But with a force rotation, it will continue to cut, and it will continue to rotate and spin.
Right.
Regardless of the pressure in the corner. So you do have to be a little bit more careful. And then with the rotary, that literally just rotates. It just spins from the centre. You get guys that are trained on rotaries, and that's all they've ever learnt on with the old school guys, and they love them. The only thing is, you just need to spend a little bit more time afterwards with a rotary, so you can get good cut out of them, but the finishing isn't necessarily as good. You have to go over again with maybe an anti-hologram or something like that, because just for the nature of how they work, you get holograms.
Yeah.
DAs are just generally a nice machine to work with, and safe to use. I mean, don't get me wrong, you can still burn through paint with these, if you just sat on the same spot, but
it's more forgiving.
It's a lot more forgiving. Yeah, it's a nicer machine to use, and the finish at the end of it is, you get a lot better finish.
Are DAs more of a modern technology?
I guess so. I guess they've been around because obviously, sanding, wet sanders and stuff, they had the air DAs back in the day, but I think in terms of polishing wise, then it's definitely DAs are newer than rotaries are.
Okay. So obviously you're getting up quite, close and personal to the panel here and there. What are you looking for?
Just making sure the defects are going. Just making sure that I'm covering every sort of part of the panel. Not missing anything out.
Yeah. How many passes were you sort of doing on these doors?
To be fair, because they've been painted and the paint was quite soft, it didn't actually need that many passes. So you can see towards the end I started to speed up a little bit. I'm getting the nano out for those smaller areas. So the Nano is a great tool. Not only is it a small 1-inch head, which means you can get into sort of those tighter gaps that you wouldn't normally get into, but you also get the different attachments with it. So if you wanted to, you could use it as a rotary or a DA. If you get a really, really, really tight space, then you can just flick it to the rotary attachment, and you get that less. You don't get any throw on it then.
Right. back to you say this is a 5-inch?
Yeah, 5.5. Well, the polisher itself has got a 5-inch backing plate, but the pads, our pads, they're 5.5-inch. So you get that extra sort of half an inch for. Well, I chose the 5.5-inch pads for 2 reasons. Number one was you get that extra half an inch away from the backing plate, so for safety. So you're not got the backing plate right at the edge of the pad, so you've got a little bit of forgiveness there if you get close to sort of a door handle or an edge or the wing or something like that. And number two is if someone's got a slightly bigger backing plate, then you could, then it's sort of a versatile pad. So it's not just for 5-inch machine polishers. Some backing, if you've got like a polisher, an unbranded polisher, they might have an odd size backing plate.
Now this is our air blower.
Yep. Yeah, just a car dryer blower.
I'm assuming this is sort of to blow off any kind of polished particles.
Yeah,
just dried out.
Yeah. I mean, our advanced compound is a great compound. It's not massively dusty compound, but you do get a bit of dust from it. So I just use that just to sort of blow. You can use an airline if you've got access to an airline. Unfortunately, our airline doesn't reach down to our detailing bay yet, so I just use that, and that just you blow it out of the window trims and any places where the dust can get to.
Indulgence Cream Wax.
Yeah. So liquid wax, Canuba based, and this is a really nice and simple wax. So unlike most of your other waxes where you'd wax the whole car, leave it for the 10 to 15 minutes for it to cure, this is a panel by panel wax. So this literally cures instantly.
Yeah.
So it is apply it on with the wax applicator, and then immediately, give it maybe 30 seconds maximum, and then buff off.
Yeah, and I mean 30 seconds when you're working on a panel, by the time you finish that panel, it's cured practically if you go back to where you started from.
Yeah. So because of the size of that panel and how fast this cures, I just did half the bonnet. You just split the bonnet into half. If you're doing a wing, then you can do the whole wing fine.
And I assume this buffs off quite easily. I mean, it looks like it's buffing off really nicely.
Yeah. The trick is with this one, funnily enough, is not to leave it too long to overcure.
Yeah. And what's the duration like on this sort of wax?
The durability on this one, I think, is probably 2 to 3 months.
Okay.
Depends how often you clean the car. Depends what time of year it is. If it's in the summer, then it's going to last longer anyway because it's not getting weathered.
Yeah.
And if you clean your car with pH neutral shampoos and sort of pre-washes and things like that, then it's going to last a lot longer.
Yeah. I suppose sort of because it's a lot quicker and simpler to use, you would plan on doing it more regularly.
Yeah. It's nice and simple and it's quick. You can do a whole car in 10-15 minutes. Where when you wax it with a paste wax or something like that has a 20-minute cure time, you have to do the whole car, then wait for it to cure and then buff it.
Yeah.
I've never found the case of me getting sort of any leftover wax or smears or anything like that, because you're working in a panel at a time. Your concentration area is a lot smaller.
Yeah. That's classic tyre dressing.
Yeah,
it's one of my favourites to be.
Yeah,
honest.
classic tyre dressing. Great tyre gel or tyre dressing. This one's a little bit more sort of water based than our Maximum Shine, and I find, and this is personally this happened to me. This, especially Michelin tyres, for some reason their sidewalls just aren't a fan of these sort of heavy silicone dressings. So our Maximum Shine and other tyre dressings that use quite a thick base silicone. The one that sits on the outside of the tyre, they just don't seem to like sticking to Michelin tyres. So this one, as you can see, it foams up a little bit as well, but this dressing really gets into the tyre and you can see the tyre absorb it. Quick buff and wipe down afterwards, you won't get any fling off it, so you won't get all these the black spots up the side of the car once you've driven a couple of miles down the road.
Yeah.
It's not a high gloss like Maximum Shine.
No, it's pretty satin, isn't
it? Yeah, it's a nice, subtle sort of puts the colour back in the tyres.
Yeah, I mean, I would describe it as the new rubber look.
Yeah.
It makes it black again. So that's pretty much the detail summarised there. Obviously, I mean, this detail in itself took a full day, just under 8 hours to complete, and that's obviously excluding the whole washing and stages that we've done back in episode 2. So now that it's done, Elliott's taken the car outside. He walked around in the detailing bay as well, just to sort of finalise.
Yeah, we'll just get it out once you've machine polished a car and then waxed it. You can have the best lights you can in a detailing bay, but nothing will show up imperfections like the sun.
No, especially on a day like this.
Yeah. So once you've done it, best place to go, and if the sun's out, go and get it in the sun.
Yeah.
And if you've missed anything, that's where you're going to see it.
Yeah.
And then the all-important pictures for the gram.
That's it. That's, like I said before, that's the most important step. And then yeah, once you're happy, job done. We're taking the car back into the detailing bay. In episode 4, the next episode, we'll be completing an interior clean on this car to finalise the series. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. All support is appreciated. Until next time.